I'm Mary Aileen Buss, and this is Making Pipe Cleaner Animals. It's a lot of fun, and they're really cute, some of them. Let me move the camera over so that we can see what I'm doing. Okay, the first thing I'm going to be doing is using fuzzy pipe cleaners to make these little birds. I learned this from this amazing wire artist whose name I have unfortunately forgotten a couple of years ago. It's what got me started doing pipe cleaner animals. You need big fuzzy pipe cleaners. These are from Michael's, the jumbo pipe cleaners. Sorry, that's upside down. Jumbo pipe cleaners from Michael's Creatology brand. Unfortunately, they're only 9 inches. The ones I learned on are 12 inches. They're from this other brand called Creativity Street, which has colossal and super colossal. These are 25 millimeter, which is about 1 inch. And you'll notice they've sort of got a grain to them, so you want to make sure you're doing them upside down and right side up and not upside down. You start by coming about 2 inches down from the top and bending it back at about a 45-degree angle. And then you decide what color you want the beak. I'm going to use this light yellow. So I cut that in half. I'm using wire cutters because I have them. Ordinary scissors will work, but do not use your good sewing scissors or you'll kill them. And then you'll cry, or your mom will cry and then you'll cry. So you want, about 3/4 of an inch sticking out from the bend. And you bend it around so that it's sticking towards the front. And you start winding the long end around the short end. When you get to the tip, you wind it back up the other way. You can make a longer, thinner beak or a shorter, fatter beak, whatever you want for the bird you're making. And then for the eyes, I'm going to do black eyes. Again, you cut it in half. And you come in about 1 inch from one end and you hold very, very firmly so it won't twist in your fingers, and you bend it over and you start twisting it around at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is good. And then you take the rest of it, you come back along the stalk as tight as you can get to the stalk and bend it around the other end. 2, 3, 4, 5. So you wind up with a kind of dumbbell shape. I always get one end fatter than the other, which isn't ideal, but whatever. So you take that at the bend, you put the middle of the dumbbell in the back of the curve, and you just pinch it forward. Make sure the eyes wind up on top of the beak, not below the beak. And then your crest here, not quite halfway up the length of the crest, you bend it all the way back so that the top of it is behind and hides the back of the eyes and the beak. And then with these short pipe cleaners, you can only come down about 2 inches, maybe 2.5, and you bend it back, right angle, make sure that this bend is in the same, for the tail, is in the same direction as the crest end here. And then you need the feet. So I'm using a darker yellow, almost an orange for the feet. You need a full length pipe cleaner. You come in, maybe 1.5 inches and bend over. And you start making toes. You can do 2 or 3 toes. 3 is more plausible feet, but so that's 1 foot, and then you wrap it around and come over and make the toes for the other foot. Just sort of widen this out a little so that they're not all the same one big long foot. You pinch them tight. And you come back, and I think I didn't leave enough room behind. That's okay. So you've got a couple of little feet here with toes and things sticking in the back. Yeah, I didn't leave enough room back here. It should have been more like 2 inches. And then you take this and you come and you wrap it, start it in front, and you wrap it around behind. And what you wanted to do was have your 2 things sticking out be the toes in the back and just clip the excess. But since I didn't leave long enough on one end, I'm going to just have to double it in back as well and hope that works. Not very well, but you know, good enough. And then you take your tail and you bend, leave about 1.5 inches, and you bend up, and I should have made it a little shorter. You bend up, and if you're using a longer pipe cleaner, you've got a lot of room to wrap around the body and make it fatter. I don't have very much, but I'll wrap around and make it fatter anyway. See if I can get my toes to behave. Get my toes in the back to behave. They don't want to today. They never do. Okay. And then you have to adjust a little to get him to stand up. Works best if he's more or less up straight. And it's a bird. The longer pipe cleaners, this was one of the ones that was done in that workshop, and it's the longer pipe cleaners, and you can see we got lots wrapped around here, and it's still way taller. Whoops, doesn't want to stand up again. Still way taller than the others. But you can get really creative. You do need the fluffy ones for it to work right. This one, I tried just using 4 regular pipe cleaners wrapped around each other, and it kind of worked, but it's very skinny. I don't know, it might be a roadrunner or some skinny bird like that, but it's not a big fluffy bird. Okay, so the rest of it, the rest of it uses ordinary pipe cleaners. Let me get this. I hit the cord when I was moving the birds out of the way, and now it doesn't want to stay again. Doesn't want to. Okay, I think that works. So for the rest of it, we're just using ordinary pipe cleaners and some googly eyes and some glue. The next thing is going to be a turtle. Very simple, although you do need to use a little glue. You need 3 pipe cleaners for this, 2 in one color for the shell. I'm using a dark green, and 1 for the body. I'm going to use a light green. You take your one of your shell pieces and you start coiling it in on itself. And you just keep coiling in on itself. You got a little circle or oval, and then you do the same thing with the other shell piece. You bend it over and you coil it in on itself. And you just keep coiling till it's done. You might want to tuck the end in a little bit, or not. Let's see. And then you set one of them aside. So the other one's your bottom shell. And you take your body pipe cleaner. And again, you start coiling in on one end, but you don't go very far. About 4 times around is good. A little bit more. That's your head. And you bend this out like this so that your head sticks up this way. And you lay it down. Let's see if we can see this. You lay it down across the shell and you clip, about 1/2 inch off the back of the shell with the tail sticking out. And then you take, I just use ordinary Elmer's glue. Take some glue. You run a little line across the underside of this. And you put it down on the shell. Hold it in place for a moment. I've maybe got the tail longer than it needs to be. If I decide it's too long later, I'll clip it off. And you just sort of hold it down for a minute until it's going to stay. It's not completely dry yet. I need to be careful. And then the rest of your green body pipe cleaner is the legs. So you bend one end in a little, and you have to sort of measure it across the shell to make sure you're making things long enough. And you bend in a little, come forward, and then you come over and you make back legs. And that one front leg is kind of too long, isn't it? Oh well, as long as they stick out from the shell. So you don't want to, sort of an H shape, but then you want to bend them out a little bit. And bend them down slightly so that it's not just a flat shape. And then you put a little bit of glue. You can do it either on your leg bit or on the spine there, and you lay it down carefully. Make sure your legs stick out evenly all the way around, and you hold that in place for a moment. And then you take your top shell and you need to push it up a little bit in the middle so that it's sort of a dome shape. And you run a little bit of glue around the edge of that. You don't want too much or it makes a mess. And you put it down very carefully on here and hold it in place for a minute. And you have a little turtle when you're done, except he's not sticking properly. Let's see if I can hold him down better so that he's going to stick better. Okay, I don't want to handle it too much until the glue's dry, but nice cute little turtle there. It'll be even cuter if we give it some eyes. I've got googly eyes here. These are self-stick. I just have to peel the back off. That's always the hard part. Put a couple of little eyes on, one on each side of the head. Whoops, and he shifted because the glue's not holding. And we take the other one and we put it on the other side of his head. And I might have to, the glue doesn't like to hold at first, but if you leave it alone for half an hour, it'll stay just fine. But there's our little turtle with googly eyes, and I'm going to put him over here so I don't have to move him anymore. Okay, so the next thing doesn't need anything but pipe cleaners. You need 3 pipe cleaners, 2 of them in coordinating colors. A darker and a lighter is dark and light blue, yellow and orange, red and pink. If I can find the red one I know I've got in here, I'm going to do red and orange. There we go. And then you need a contrasting color. I'm going to use black is good, but you can use anything else as long as it's not the same. I'm going to use this, actually use this half stick of black that I have left because we only need a half stick for this, of the black. So you take the 2 of your coordinating colors and you match them up as closely as you can and pick it up as close to the middle as you can and give it about 4 or 5 twists together. You want to wind up with 2 red ones on the same side and the 2 orange ones on the same side, or whatever you're doing. So this is going to be a ring. So you put it around one of your fingers, bring it up to the top, and give it a couple of twists. It tends to get tighter as you twist, so make sure it's not too tight for your finger. And then you open these out. Again, make sure that you've got the same color together. And now mine isn't even anymore. So I'm going to clip that off to even it because you want them really about the same size. same length. And you figure out which one is going to be your top wings and which one is your bottom half of the wings. It's usually better to have the darker color be the top. But whatever you decide is the bottom half, you clip off not much, ½ inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, not very much. You just want them a little bit shorter because the bottom half of the wings are smaller. So you open it out to an X shape. And then you start coiling one X in towards the other color. If you mess up and put it towards the same color, it's not a big deal, but it works a little better if it comes towards the same color. And then you do that on all 3 of the others. You coil them in on themselves. Nice tight coil, always working towards the same color. So the top bits coil down and the bottom bits coil up. And then you want to tuck the lower part of the wings in under, adjust them a little bit. So, as you can see, it's going to be a butterfly. Butterfly wings aren't really round though, they're sort of lobed. So what we're going to do is we're going to pinch in, we're going to make an indentation on the side and a sort of pointy towards the top. Doesn't want to pinch very well and indent very well because of the coils, but it works. And then indentation on the side and pointy towards the end on the bottom part of the wings. And then your contrasting color is the body and the antennas. You're starting with a full length pipe cleaner. You need to cut it in half. And you take and you wrap it around as evenly as you can. I didn't quite get that straight. You wrap it around the middle and give it a twist to hold it. And then you loosely coil the tops of the antenna in a little bit to be pretty. And there you go. Ring. You can also do flat butterflies if you don't want it as a ring. They don't always work quite as well because they don't hold together as much, but let's give it a try. I've done one. Let's try another one. I'm going to use the light pink and I've got a darker pink. And I'm going to use the white for the antenna this time because I've got some, actually no, I've got a half stick of the yellow. I'll use that. So let's see how this works. So we take the 2, we line them up as evenly as we can get, and we twist a couple of times in the middle. And then we open them out. And I'm going to give it another twist of each color towards each other just to hold it a little better. Yeah, it's sort of wibble wobbling all over. It's not going to hold right because the only thing holding it is, see, it droops. Well, let's give it a shot. This one's going to be a little bigger because we didn't use part of the pipe cleaner on the ring. We're going to cut the ends off of the lower one, the lighter color. And we're going to start coiling the wing halves in. I'm hoping that when I put the center on, that that'll hold it a little more securely. I guess we'll find out. Coiling this right. There we go. So we just coil it in. It really should be a tighter coil than that, but whatever. So this one without the ring doesn't really have a definite top and bottom. You just have to sort of decide which is the top and make sure that the undersides are both tucked under the same way. instead of having one under and the other one over, because that would be really dumb. So like that. And again, we pinch them in. Well, these don't want to pinch right either. No, I think this works much better as a ring. So we've sort of got it, and let's see if wrapping this around will stabilize it enough that it'll stay in place without poofing all over. Does not want to behave. Come on, stay. So we'll give it a couple of good twists to stabilize it. And bend the ends of the antenna down a little bit to be pretty. And well, it sort of works, but I think the ring is better. Okay, so moving on, the next thing is some more birds, but these are going to be with regular pipe cleaners. I'm going to start with a penguin. I need 2 black ones and a white one. It doesn't matter that this isn't full length because we're not using the whole thing. So we also, for these birds, need a pencil or a pen or a marker or anything else about this big around. You can even use your little finger if you want to. Because what we're going to do is we're going to coil one of the pipe cleaners around the pencil. This is the same motion you use to start a lot of different animals like a dog or a pig or a mouse or something. And if we've got time, oh yeah, we'll have plenty of time. I'll show you now a dog later. And then we pull it off and I put the pencil away so I don't lose it or drop it. So we've got this nice coil, and sometimes they're sort of crooked and you have to bend it out a little bit. Oh wait, I am going to need another pipe cleaner, but not just yet. Okay, so for the white, you know, I've got a few little scraps of white here. I'm going to use those first. You're going to cut 3 pieces of the white about the height of your coil. Now the first penguin I made, I didn't have any black pipe cleaners and I used dark blue and it worked, but black is canonical. Okay, so you take your 3 little lengths. If they're not precisely the same length, it doesn't matter. And you line them up next to each other and you bend one end over about 1/4 of an inch from the end. And you sort of hook it over one of the coils, about 3 coils from one end. You snug them right up next to each other. Whoops, that one's on the wrong coil. You snug them right up next to each other. And then you take the other end, and this is the tricky part, you bend the other end down and around so that ideally they go inside your coil. And they never want to do that for me. And you snug them up so no black is showing. That's the front. Now we do need a little bit of another color for a beak. So I'm going to use beak and feet both. I'm going to use this nice sort of yellow orange. And we cut that in half. And then we bend it in half and make a nice sharp point. And I like to bend it over a little bit. You don't have to, you can do straight at this point. And then you put the fold half up inside the coil and stick it out through a couple of the loops, most of the way up, and bend it down so you got a little beak. And then this other end, you bend forward, and you shape them into flippers because penguins have flippers. And you sort of move it so it'll stand up a little. And then it needs wings. So you take your other black pipe cleaner and you cut it in half. Actually, a third would probably be enough for a penguin. And you shove it through the coils from this one side, if you can find a place where you can shove it. And you bend up the wing a little bit. Penguins have short, stubby little wings, so you don't want it too much. And you bend up the other one, and then you're going to have to cut off the excess. See, we didn't need quite 6 inches on this side. And you try to balance them so that they're the same length. Get them bent down at a pretty angle. And then if you want to, you can take your other end, your other half of the black, and come in, oh, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and do like we did for the eyes. You make just around and around and around and make a sort of little cap. And you can stick it in the top to give it a little more height on top of its head. And it's getting caught on all the other wires in there. Okay, make it a little bit taller. If you wanted to, you could put glue in that to hold it in, but I'm not going to. See if I can still get the guy to stand up. He wants to fall over. There we go. And if you want to give him a couple of googly eyes, if you don't have googly eyes, you can glue on little bits of felt or even like construction paper or something. But the googly eyes are very cute. There's one. Now, if you just want a plain basic bird and not a penguin, the only difference is that you don't put the white front on and you make the wings a little longer. If you want to, you can leave them out straight so that they're really long and all the way out, or you can just bend them up, but not quite as short. Either way. So there's our little penguin. If I can get him to stand up. There we go. And now I'm going to do an owl, which is very much the same thing. Body and a nice plain front. And I'm going to use a fatter pen for this because I want it to be a little rounder in the body, because the owl, you wind up trying to shove an awful lot of stuff up through the middle. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So use the pen on this. So it's not going to be quite as tall, but it's got more room in the middle. The first thing you need to do is cut your front pieces about the length of your coil. And you bend one end over. These maybe should have been a little longer. If you get too long, you can't put them in the coil right in the bottom. So I'm going to go in right here and bend the bottom ends down in to anchor them at that end. And you've got your light front. And then I'm going to use the other half of this to do the beak. And again, you bend it in half, and you stick it up and through, tip down. And for the owl, you want to try to make toes, at least a little bit. So you bend it back a couple of times. Make sure that this doesn't wind up separated. And whoops, the beak is coming out of the top instead of out of here. Okay. Okay, that's why. Always a problem, aren't you, Mr. Beak? There we go, Beak. Does not want to behave. Get him mushed. Okay, so now you take your other brown pipe cleaner and you cut it in half. And you bend it in half in the middle. nice sharp point, and then you bend it back down on both sides, just sort of M shape, and that's going to be your sort of feather horns at the top. You stuff that through from the bottom. Remember I said there was a lot of things going through the middle of the owl? That's what I meant. And then the rest of this you can wrap up the back if you want, is probably the best thing, or just double it back or something so it'll stay. And you give the owl some wings with this other half, and you shove that through there, more or less even, and you bend the wings up. And you get them as even as you can. And I actually have orange googly eyes here, so I'm going to give him orange googly eyes, not just white ones. And I think I got that on in the wrong place and I can't shift it. Well, drat. Cross-eyed owl. And there you are, little owl. Go with the little penguin. And okay, so we've got time left. Let me see if I can do a dog. I haven't done very many of these dogs, so I don't know how good I'm going to be at this. So let me give it a shot. Let's see, do I have the dog? Oh yeah, here's the earlier dog I made. See if we can do that again. As you can see, we start with a coil for the body. And I'm going to use the pencil again and just wrap it around. Coil it all the way up. And it's crooked and we need to straighten it out. That's all right. So for the legs, trying to remember how I did this. This one's not full length, that's my problem. For the legs, you come up, oh, 1.5 inches maybe, and you stick it through where you want your front legs to be, and you bend it up. Whoops. Basically, you bend the two ends like this, and then here, and then it goes in through the full length of the body. And then you can bend those down to be the actual legs, and I didn't get them the same length, so it's not going to stand up, and that's a problem. And then actually, I wanted it to come out one coil before the end, so let's see if I can double that down. Not working right. Nope. Ah, there we go. And I give it back legs. And the first time I did this, I had enough left over to be a tail. It doesn't look like I'm going to this time. So maybe this is the mysterious tailless dog or something. I don't know. Not working. Told you I wasn't very good at the dog yet. I'm going to take this other little shorter bit and stick one end out for the tail and just stick it up the end. There we go, he's got a little tail. And let's see, I'm trying to remember what I did for the ears. Oh yes. About that much for the ears. Bend them up towards the middle. You can leave them kind of rounded on the ends instead of tight if you want. And then this end here with this sticking out, if we bend it up a little bit, it's a head, and we pull the ears in. You bend them over and you sort of put them in there. They don't show very well, unfortunately. And then you can maybe wrap the end around here to be a little nose. I forget what I did. I think what I did was the little plug like on the top of the penguin head to make another little nose. I forget. So it'll look better once I put eyes on him, but it's not a very good dog. It takes practice. Let's see, what happens if I put eyes on him? Is he an okay dog if I put eyes on him? Not too bad. Needs better ears. Let's see, can I take the ears out and maybe if I stick them in this way so they stand up? Oh yeah, a little bit of glue in that to hold them. And there's a dog. Woof. Or something. I tried to do a pig earlier. That's the worst pig anybody ever tried to make. Won't even stand up. I obviously need to work a little harder to get a pig. Nope, pig not working. Dead pig. Okay, so that's everything I have. So unless there are any questions, I think we're done.